Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Season 2, Episode 52 of the Anglo-Italian Pod. You can always follow us on Instagram at Anglo-Italian Pod, on Twitter at Italian Anglo Pod, and you should also give a follow to our sponsor at Sports Club Maps. As always, I'm Tommaso, and I'm joined by my good friend and co-host, Mr.
Rory, here I am again. Here we are again. It's that time of the week. Tommy, how are you feeling? How was your weekend? We'll talk about Inter in a bit, but how was your weekend?
Yeah, because if I talk about Inter, my weekend was not good. I'm barely following football anymore. I don't even know why I have a football podcast. What are we talking about? It's gone. It's gone. The Scudetto. It's gone.
It's good to see you handling it well, Tommy. It's good to see you handling it well.
We'll talk about it. I was prepared. But my weekend was great. And I have to, you know the story, but I have to tell our listeners that on Friday night, on my first night clubbing after 3 years, all of a sudden, I find myself accidentally dancing with, I want to say, the most desired woman in the beautiful country. Can we
Your
say
mother.
that?
Your mother.
Yeah, Rory, don't ever do that again. I'm talking about sports journalist Diletta Leotta. She was dancing right in front of me at the club. Some drinks were had before such incident happened. And I see my mate next to me telling me, it's Diletta Leotta. And at that point, Tipsy Tommaso just goes, to the side, looks at her. She looks at him. She looks at him. And I just go like, Grande Diletta, great Diletta. And she's like, hi. And then I proceed to telling her very uninteresting things like, how's your night going? And she's like, great. And I'm like, first time clubbing after 3 years for me. And she's like, awesome. And then I'm like, do you support Inter Milan? And she's like, bye. And she leaves the dance floor.
Still got it, Tommy. Still got it.
I think that's the moment when she was just like, you know what? Let's just chill in the VIP lounge and leave all these
this place is full of dicks.
leave all these groundlings on their own. But besides that, I had a very good weekend. The days are getting longer, and it's really starting to feel like spring, and I'm happy about that. I just had a very good weekend, very relaxing. How was yours?
Yeah, it was good. I feel like at the moment my weekends are very much sofa based because the missus is doing a course, so we can't really do much at the weekends. But it's a good excuse for me to just sit and watch football the entire time. So I'm having actually pretty good weekends. Saturday I sat and watched Arsenal, which was fun. Nervous but fun, and then Sunday was just great. Great FA Cup action, even better action in Serie A. Some really good games, and then all finished it off with El Clasico, which was unbelievable. So yeah, really, really good weekend. Probably drank a little bit too much for just being in the house, but it's fine.
that will happen. But sorry, I think we could start from a neutral ground, since then we're going to go to our leagues of expertise, Serie A and the Premier League. We have to talk about these incredible El Clasico wins, topped by an Aubameyang celebration that was not even subtly directed at Mr. Tony Kroos, correct?
It was indeed, but then there was video of them like joking in the tunnel, and they were kind of like shaking hands and stuff. And it's kind of a weird one there, but considering Kroos was dragged at halftime as well, like he did not have a good day, but none of Real Madrid did. I just want to very quickly say, I'm genuinely. Every time Oba scored, I just smiled. I was like, oh, it's so good to see him happy again. It's so good to see him scoring. I genuinely, I know it sounds like an ex who's just denying that they're upset, but I was like, I'm genuinely just happy to see him doing well. It obviously wasn't working out at Arsenal. Him and Arteta didn't like each other. We've been better since he left. He's been better since he left. It's just a move that works out for all parties. And he absolutely tore Real Madrid to pieces last night. And I think if he ends up winning silverware with Barcelona, it would sting a little bit, but it wouldn't surprise me. Like they could and should win the Europa League, really.
Yeah, before we talk about the actual game, I wanted to ask you, how can you just generally feel so happy for him? Can't you, isn't there a part of you that regrets the fact that he left? Because right now you were saying you kind of need a new striker, and it kind of feels like you had him there all along, but shit with the manager just didn't work out.
But the thing is, whenever Oba left anywhere, it ended like this. When he left Dortmund, it ended like this. When he left Saint Etienne, it ended like he just stopped scoring. He lost interest, and it's just like I think that's just what happens. Do I resent him a little bit that he kind of gave up? Yeah, definitely. And I think if you'd have just concentrated, then we could still have a world-class striker. But also, we knew what he was like when we signed him. So I think it's a shame it didn't work out, but I'm genuinely just glad that he's enjoying his football again, because it was pretty depressing watching him towards the end at Arsenal. And then when we were playing, it was like we had 10 men on the pitch because he wasn't willing to get involved in the system, wasn't willing to do the work that Lacazette is doing, even if he was able to score more goals than Lacazette. Lacazette actually fits the philosophy and the system. So I think it kind of, I am just happy for him, but I'm kind of, I'm sad that he didn't continue to play how he could have done. But him and Arteta obviously just did not get along. And I think, as we've seen with Arteta now, things are going so well, for now, touch wood, things are going so well, that we were right to stick with Arteta and not Aubameyang, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, 7 goals and 1 assist in 7 La Liga games for Pierre-Emerick. What a start. We're going to talk about some incredible stats from another player that the pod absolutely loves later during the Serie A review. But where does this massive win leave Barcelona? So Barcelona were going through a very dark moment in their history. Some people at the Anglo-Italian pod were laughing about it, and they were saying they will never go back to being the Barcelona that they once were. But now there are even talks about Messi maybe going back, because he sees that shit is playing the right way. So what can we say about this Blaugrana squad that neither of the two particularly loves, but the club, not the squad? What do you say, Rory?
I think they've done incredibly well to get Xavi. Like, obviously, he was always going to go there. He's a club legend. He came through La Masia. He was destined for that job. But they've done really well to be like, right, get Xavi. Right, first transfer window, what does he want? He needs a striker. He needs more, like, strength in centre. And they've gone and just identified all the areas. They've got maybe short-term fixes, but they've got fixes in those positions. Like, Aubameyang is old. You'll probably get 1 more season, maybe 2 more seasons out of him after this. But he's definitely an upgrade on Braithwaite and De Jong. Like, so they've gone out, they've done exactly what Xavi said, and they've already got this system going, which isn't really like, it's not the tiki-taka that he played. It's kind of like an evolved version of Pep's football at City. It's like slightly, they like the kind of long balls, if you know what I mean, like those quick transition passes that get through, those quick breaks. So it's not the tiki-taka slow kind of build-up that you'd expect, but it's really exciting, dynamic football. And they've just turned it around very quickly because they've had that decisiveness. And I think if you look at a club, for example, like Manchester United, both of these teams were in a similar state this season. United have decided to just write off the season, and Barcelona have gone, no, right, now we make the decision. Otherwise, this gets out of control. And I think they've done really well to turn it around. They're obviously not going to win La Liga this year, but if they can finish in a positive way and keep hold of some players that were, before this turnaround, we're probably looking at the door. Players like De Jong, players like Dembele. Like, I think a few players would have been looking at the door going, if this ship's going down, then I'm jumping off. So I think now they'll be a bit more convinced to stay, and they'll be able to keep that young core of players together, because there would have been plenty of clubs lining up to pick off some of those players, especially the likes of Pedri, Gavi, players like that. Like, people would have been queuing up. So I think they've done really, really well to bring Xavi in and get it turned around so quickly. What do you think, Tommy?
I agree with you 100%. Our friend, the Hopeless Wanderer podcast, is saying that Barcelona might need some creative accounting for next season again. We shall see. Another player that has been thoroughly revamped under Xavi is Ousmane Dembele. Let's not forget that he came in to replace Neymar back in the day. His move never really worked out. And so far this season, in 12 La Liga games, he leads the team in assists with 9. So he's definitely having a great season. And I wanted to give a shout also to a player that I was kind of slow to jump into the hype train about. This goal that I'm going to talk about is not from the derby, though. It's from the game they had against Galatasaray. I'm talking about Pedri. Holy shit.
Oh, man, that guy's such a player.
Man, that double fake to sit the two sliding Galatasaray defenders was just beautiful. Like, how cold-blooded must you be? So definitely things are looking well at Barcelona. If they qualify for the Champions League this season, and they probably will, it's already a great accomplishment considering how the season started. Actually, unless something unbelievable happens, they will manage to go through. It started as a terrifying season for them, but they've only lost 4 games. So when you analyze everything that has been going on, this team has been able to perform. And if this was their darkest year yet, well, I think they are riding through the storm with great confidence.
They have done massively. And a friend of the show, AFC Finners, all right, mate, says Xavi needs a similar amount of time to Klopp. He started well, but I think it'll take 4 seasons or so to get Barca back to a La Liga title. I think you're absolutely right. I think we're seeing a few clubs as well kind of go for that project manager now and just deciding that they're going to have, or they're going to try and have more patience. But Xavi will be there as long as he wants to be there, I think, because he's such an icon at that club. I think it would take a lot for them to even think about moving him on. And as you said, he's had a fantastic start.
Yeah. What did you think of the Dragon Ball theme, the celebration, Rory?
It was good to see Oba vibing again. I loved it. The only thing I wish he'd done is actually pull out a mask from somewhere and put it on just to really piss Toni Kroos off. But yeah, the goal he set up as well, I think it's the 4th goal, the back heel from Oba to Torres. Oh my God, that was perfect. Like a guy enjoying his football again. It was unbelievable to see, but Real Madrid were absolutely atrocious. We have to say Benzema was injured and that had a big part. They ended up having Modric as kind of like a false 9, the most advanced player. It was really weird what Carlo tried to do. It definitely didn't work. David Alaba had one of the worst games of his career, as did Militao. It was pretty ugly. And Los Chiringuito, the Spanish show that always goes meme and goes viral every time. The entrance to the show yesterday was fantastic. Just the Barcelona fans screaming in the face of the Real Madrid fans. It was good to see.
I have to say to Real Madrid's defense, they've been having a tough run of fixtures. They had to overturn that score against the PSG. They did it wonderfully. And this is their first loss in La Liga since you would have to scroll way back to January the 2nd. And they still have, even if Barcelona do win their game in hand, they still have a 9-point advantage with 9 games to go. As an Inter fan, I would tell you there's no such thing as a comfortable lead. But
look, Real Madrid, I'm possibly going to jinx it now, but Real Madrid are going to win the league.
And they're not going to win the league now.
it would just be the Barcelona fans will be able to say, but that year you won the league, we slapped you 4-0 at home. And that's all it is, right? But it's a big statement because I think Real were thinking that they'd be dominating that league for the next couple of years.
True. And also, last thing I have to say about La Liga, this year we're having the feeling that it's not only between Real Madrid, Barcelona, and Atletico. There is Sevilla up there, and there are a few teams.
Betis is doing really well. Sociedad,
yeah, there are quite a few teams piled up at the top. Let's hope that it's not a one-off thing, and it's actually clubs getting back on track to compete for the title, because we're all enjoying this race up top. Beautiful. So we're done with Spain. Time to take a blimp and fly all the way to England, where there was both FA Cup and Premier League action. Rory, where do you want to start?
Let's start in the Premier League very quickly. Top 4 challengers. Well, it's another big weekend for the top 4 race. I'm going to start with Tottenham. And I'm not going to slag them off too much.
Your New Year's resolution is going well, I have to say.
I know, yeah.
Almost sounds like a Spurs fan, man.
No, please don't. Okay, in that case, no. Spurs played very, very well, really well against an incredibly tired West Ham team. I think that game midweek, the extra time against Sevilla really did take it out of them. David Moyes, we've talked about it a million times. He needed backing in the transfer window. He's not had it. Their squad is so thin. And Antonio looked dead on his feet. Rice looked dead on his feet. And it just meant that Spurs got quite an early 2-0 lead. They somehow managed to let West Ham back into it because they can't defend set pieces. Ben Rama got a goal. And then towards the end, Spurs finally got the 3rd goal. But Uncle Sharma has just jumped in. Bentancur and Kulusevski balling out is Premier League the Farmers League. Well, I tell you what, they have been 2 fantastic signings for Spurs so far. And I really didn't see it coming. I thought Dejan especially, we talked about him, Tommy, when he was at Parma. And we were like, this guy's exciting. Like when he was on loan at Parma, this guy could really go far. He kind of faded at Juventus. And now at Spurs, he's got 2 goals and 4 assists in 9 games. He really is kind of that front 2 that Spurs have with Kane and Son has now been expanded with Kulusevski able to get involved as well. If you can get that 3 working together, that's pretty scary. But they're having a really good start. Bentancur is slotted into that midfield, doing really well. They are going to push Arsenal for top 4. I think I called it far too soon. They are going to push us, and they are looking like they're looking like they've got like cold dead stare, like they're ready to go. And with Kane and Son, anything is possible. The only really embarrassing moment for Spurs this game was Kurt Zuma kind of kicked a ball away and it hit Son, and Son went down like Rivaldo style, just hit the deck like 2 minutes later. Incredibly embarrassing. And Reguilon, who there's always one Spurs player who I hate because he's a mouthy little prick. And this year, it's Reguilon. He just runs over straight away trying to get involved in a fight. Oh God, I hate him so much. So a bit of a, like for a player like Son, who we all know how good he is, you just don't need to do things like that. Like just grow up, have a bit of dignity. You do not need to be falling around like that. So it was all a bit tasteless. I didn't really enjoy it. And Reguilon, someone needs to put him in his place at some point. But that's the Spurs game done with. We're going to talk about Arsenal, because of course we're going to talk about Arsenal. A 1-0 win.
Spurs, also to just wash up everything you've just said about Spurs.
Yeah.
Let's bring in the Arsenal perspective.
A 1-0 win. A good performance first
nice
half.
Goal. Nice goal by Saka.
Very nice goal. Saka didn't hit it that cleanly, but I think Martinez he couldn't see the ball until the last minute.
Not at all. Not at all.
He had no chance. But Saka goal, first half definitely should have had more. Aston Villa didn't have their first shot on target until the 93rd minute. We definitely kept them out of the game. But there's 2 things after this game that have come out that really piss me off. I don't know if the same thing happens in Italy. You'll have to tell us, Tommy. But fans having a go at fans for celebrating too much. Like, you'll win a game and then the celebration police come out and they're like, oh, it's like you've won the league. All it is a 1-0 win away to Villa. There's a feeling at Arsenal at the moment. We've been depressed for years and we finally got a team that we like. We've got progress. And we're celebrating it with our fans. But the Aston Villa players and fans got very upset about it, as did the Wolves fans when we beat them twice. And Ashley Young came out after the game and said it was like they won the Champions League. Now, look, I don't want to start having to go at fans for celebrating in football. That's the good bit. That's why I watch football, to celebrate the wins. If you're not allowed to do that, why are we here? What are we doing?
As an Arsenal fan, I haven't done it in a long time, but so just let me fucking enjoy it. Like, I don't get it.
And the thing, they turn around and go, well, it's only Villa. Okay, fine. Well, Leicester, Wolves and Villa last season, we got 3 points out of 18. Yeah. This year, we've got 18 points out of 18. Like, that is the difference. That's why we're celebrating these wins, because it didn't happen last year. And then the last talking point was Bukayo Saka was kicked from one end of the pitch to the other. Aston Villa's tactics were very clear. Every time Smith Rowe or Saka got the ball, just clean him out. Don't give him any space. And with Saka, it's something that I've noticed a lot throughout the league. Every time he plays, teams just kick him. Like Crystal Palace did it. Was it McCarthy? Should have been sent off. And as an Arsenal fan, we've seen 3 players in 5 years have career-ending injuries with Diaby, Ramsey, or career-changing Diaby, Ramsey, and Eduardo. For years, we were treated as Arsenal don't like it up them, and teams could just go through us. And we are sensitive to when our players start getting kicked, and it happens to Saka all the time. So he came out and said afterwards, I talked to the referee and said, I need more protection. People are kicking my ankles. They're booting me. You need to be giving more fouls because this isn't on. Steven Gerrard was approached with it after the game, and he said, well, I'm now walking with pins in my hips from a career of football in England. It's English football. You need to get on with it. I'm going to let you give your opinion on that in a moment, but I just think England in general has this opinion of things were shit for me, so things should be shit for you. And that's not how progress happens. That's not how things improve. Just because something was like this doesn't mean it should stay like that. And I think it's a really stupid comment from Gerrard. And just, especially when as he was Rangers manager, he asked for more protection for his players from Kilmarnock because they were kicking him too hard. So maybe just take a moment before you're going to make that statement. Like, I don't know what you think about it, Tommy, but I've gone on a bit of a rant. I apologize.
No. It's fine. That's the beauty of the pod. No, the thing that I think is that it's stupid from Saka's part to go out in front of the microphones and say it, because that's just going to lead to more players beating him up on the pitch. Because it's like, oh, really? You're getting too hurt? What about this one? And you're just going to go with it, I feel like this happens to a lot of like players with a lot of flair. Never forget that first, I've always been a Neymar stan. Like, I've always been a big Neymar fan. And I remember when he came from Brazil, the first season in La Liga, man, it was unbelievable. The guy would leave the pitch almost in tears. I think he has complained about it too, when people called him a wuss and whatnot. But I feel like it's made him man up a little bit, knowing, all right, are they going to do this? I'm just going to dribble past them. I'm just going to perfect, like hone my skill even more. I think I don't like the reasoning of it happened to me, it's going to happen to you too. I just think that it's a part of football, and if it's a foul, the referee should be whistling. If it's not a foul and you get hurt, you just kind of have to go on with it. I can understand, though, the frustration. I did not watch the 90 minutes of this game. I can understand this frustration after 90 minutes of being like beat up from both ends of the pitch, of going in and saying that. I just think it's part of the game. And I do understand, like, I feel like a lot of players would giggle hearing that, not only Gerrard.
Yeah,
like,
I think...
go talk to the Cassanos, Tottis, Nestas, and they would tell you probably the same thing. Like, man, football is not only about like kicking the ball; it's about like physical contrast as well. And
listen, and I think I think you're right. I think you're right, and maybe it was a bit foolish to come out and say it, but I think if we know one thing about Saka, is that he's got the mental strength to get past this.
True.
And he's got the fortitude to be able to, like, he is destroying defenses this season, and nobody can keep up with him, so they're having to kick him. I think it's something that just as Arsenal fans were a little bit more sensitive to because of what happened to Ramsey, Diaby, and Eduardo. It's just something that we get flashbacks straight away, because they were three players that their careers were just completely ended.
Man, the Eduardo injury is one of the first video clips that I remember watching on a smartphone back in the day. I just remember it was a gruesome injury, and it's one of the first clip that I remember seeing in a phone. Very weird.
I can't talk about that guy's career, man. He was so good. He was
and
so
also
good.
Brazilian Croatian. Give us more of that. What a strange mix. Just love it.
We were top of the league clear at Christmas, and then that tackle happened, and then we never recovered. It was absolute, like, that tackle was barbaric, and it was the third one after Ramsey and Diaby. Like, Ramsey was never the same again. Diaby was never the same again. Eduardo ended up playing out in Croatia, I think, because he could never get fit again. And it was because there was this culture of Arsenal don't like it up at them. You can give them a kick and it doesn't matter. And it happened for fucking years. It happened for years.
Friend of the show and the cousin of 50% of the pod, Chris Hamilton, says all managers think their players need more protection while also justifying their own fouls. I don't think it's just Saka. What about Zaha?
No, I think you're right. There are players that are targeted. I just think this year in particular, obviously I've watched more Arsenal, right? But the one that sticks in my mind is the Crystal Palace at home. James McArthur, the ball's in the air, nowhere near it, and he just swings and cleans out Saka's standing leg. Full power kick to the calf, nothing done. And then every game I've seen this year, the first couple of tackles on Saka are absolutely brutal. And I get it, let him know you're there, kind of let him know he's in the game. I'm not naive, but I just think there needs to be more protection for when...
That's the referee's fault then.
Like, well, exactly.
Regardless of the player, regardless of the team, it's the referee who should do their fucking job.
But exactly, and I think when you can see a player is clearly being targeted, regardless of who the player is, if you can see the tactics are upset him, hurt him, the referee should be doing more. But the referee this game had an absolute shocker. Some of the decisions he gave against Villa were baffling. Some of the decisions he gave against Arsenal were baffling. He booked Xhaka for 3 fouls. He went there. Xhaka had 1 foul. He just made it up. And he booked him. Like, this ref had an absolute shit show. So the Villa fans were pissed off rightly because Smith Rowe dived a few times. There were a few dodgy decisions. I just think he had a very bad day. And Saka left with a bloody ankle. But
It's a lively evening in the chat over
It's
here on
going off.
YouTube and Twitch. Nice to hear from you guys. Rudy R23 streaming from Twitch says the rules will change when it's too late for Saka. Probably, we hope not. Rory is already staining his underwear. He doesn't want that to happen.
Nothing can happen to him. My heart can't take it. Before we leave,
he's gonna swim back to England. No, don't tackle him.
Before we leave the Premier League, we need to talk about the best game of the weekend. Was Friday night. I want to say I called it on the pod at the weekend. This is a game to watch. Wolves 2, Leeds 3. Jesse Marsch gets his second win in a row for Leeds United. Wolves 2-0 down. Jimenez sent off for a very dodgy red card. I do not think it was a red at all. He was just going for the ball. The ball was there to be got. He ends up making contact with Meslier, and it's a red card. I really don't think it was a red card. For Leeds, they had Bamford go off injured, Llorente, Click, and Meslier. So they've got 4 injuries they picked up this game. But they managed to score 3 in the second half. Luke Ayling in the 91st minute, I think, doing a Robbie Keane tribute celebration, which is great to see. Leeds looking like they're getting a bit of momentum there. And in the 4 games that Jesse Marsch has been in charge, they've got an XG of 7.99 and an XG against of 4.3. So they're still not really reducing the amount of chances they're giving away, but they are making a lot more chances. I think he could make a big difference at Leeds. He's doing this great blend of like what Bielsa had and just putting in a bit of his influence. So he's not changing it completely. He's just adapting it. And then I think if he gets to the summer or if they stay up, then he'll start implementing his system more. But the players seem to love him. Every interview I've seen, I really like him. He just seems really amiable, really nice guy, like knows what he's talking about, comes across really well. I'm kind of really, really rooting for him, and I'm rooting for Leeds. It was great to see.
Can I ask what the fuck happened to the Wolves defense for Rodrigo's goal at the 66th minute? Because I got frustrated watching that goal. I was just like, guys,
guys, move.
Clear the ball. Somebody do something. At a point, I want to say, I remember, when was this game again? It was on Saturday. Friday night. I remember on Saturday after my club night, I had a big afternoon of just like watching highlights in bed. And I remember that one is a play that I just watched on repeat. I was just like, so there are like 17 things that are wrong with this entire play.
Where do we start?
I was just like, at a point, it felt like the ball was going through and the players were just watching it as if it was on fire. Like, whoa, what is that? It's a rolling ball. Just fucking
more of that when we get to Everton, by the way. but Leeds are the first team to score 3 against Wolves this season, and they did it in one half. It's insane. Like, there is something happening down at Ellen Road. Everton are in trouble.
And there is also one more Premier League game, Leicester-Brentford, 2-1, goals by Timothy. Was that this weekend? Yeah, it was.
Yeah, it was this weekend. Yeah, Castagna and Maddison. Ivan Toney is having a weird time. He got caught in a video on holiday with a girl saying "fuck Brentford," which went down incredibly well, as you can imagine. Then this week he's been caught on camera again with someone saying, "Are you a professional footballer?" He says, "Yeah, Ivan Toney." He goes, "Where do you play?" He said, and he goes, "Brentford, nowhere exciting." He really wants to get out of that club, and he's burning bridges pretty bloody quickly. The problem is they really need him. Like, they really need him. So I'm not sure what his
motivation is.
Yeah, what he's thinking is there, because he's someone that's been linked with like bigger clubs. He's been linked with Arsenal. He's been linked with United. He's been linked with Chelsea. And now these clubs are going to be going, do we want someone like that at our club? Someone who's just going to like call us out in, well, United have.
It feels like a bit of a Serge Aurier at PSG like situation when he was caught just like talking shit about the president, the Ibrahimovic and whatnot. AFC Finners says, I think Arsenal should get Toney, but do you think Mikel would trust his attitude like in that vid? It sounds like an Obama-Young type thing.
Yeah,
right?
I think as a player, he would be fantastic for us up front, but Arteta is going to go nowhere near him. He does not need that drama. He's just spent quite a lot of money getting rid of quite a lot of players like that. So as good a player as he is, I think he's not doing himself any favours in terms of moves over the summer. But Leicester win. Brentford, it's going to still be tense for them, but I think they should be okay. I think they're 7 points clear now. They just need to get a few results together. Are they 7 points? 8 points clear. but they've played one more game than Watford. Not quite out of it yet, but they should be okay.
Let's move on to the FA Cup. We've got another, 15 minutes before we move on to Serie A. Rory, FA Cup quarterfinals. Now, the only game of these that I had the chance to watch was Middlesbrough-Chelsea. Great to see so many fans at the Middlesbrough ground. However, they did put up a bit of a fight. However, in the end, Chelsea were the better team. They won quite comfortably, I have to say. And that just goes to prove what we were saying last week on the pod, that despite all the shitstorm happening over at Stamford Bridge, Thomas Tuchel is keeping the band together and motivated. And you always like a Romelu Lukaku goal with no celebration. Just like, I just scored.
I feel like he would have felt like I was waiting for him to celebrate, really, but he did control himself. Ziyech didn't really celebrate either, and that was a great goal.
What a goal.
I saw someone tweet, like, what was it? How do you give the goalkeeper the eyes from 30 yards? Like, it was mad how he just looked like he was going to shift it one way and just smashed it the opposite way. Completely wrong-footed the keeper. I was talking to a friend of the show, Colin, Middlesbrough fan. He was at the game, and he said, I feel like Middlesbrough have played well. They're just better than us. And I think that kind of sums it up. He was like, we didn't play badly. We didn't do anything wrong. They just scored 2 goals, and from then it was fairly comfortable. So Chelsea are through. They will be facing in the semi-final my dark horse, Crystal Palace, who absolutely battered Everton.
But they were fluke goals, Rory.
But none of them counted. None of them counted because, as Frank said, it was a goal from a corner.
Is back. Fat Frank
a goal from a corner, an average goal, a fluke goal, another average goal. The way he said average goal...
Before you go, it just sounds like Allegri after the Villarreal game. It's just like, we played well. It was just a game decided by the episodes. Yes, Massimiliano. But when the episodes are 3 and you don't score any goals, then it's dodgy, dude. That's the problem.
Like, the video, it was so funny because he just goes, apart from that goal, that goal, that goal, and that goal. Yeah, it's 4 goals, Frank. It's 4. It's 4. And the way he said, like, average goal about the second one gave me that, like, massive vibe of, like, you know, a guy who's been rejected by a girl and then he's like, oh, she's ugly anyway. I'm not even interested. Just gave me, like, massive vibes of that, because that Palace second goal was absolutely beautiful. But I went through the goals to be like, okay, maybe they were unlucky. Maybe Frank's got a point. The first goal from the corner, Everton defenders just decide to leave Mark Guehi completely unmarked for a free header. Like, the defense just splits for him. It's mad. The second goal is a beautiful move. Ebere Eze, favourite of the pod, starting the move, putting a ball out wide for Zaha. He whips it into the box, and Mateta is stood on his own. There's 4 Everton players just watching him, and he just strokes it into the box. Like, it is the easiest goal. The third one is a bit of a fluke. Now, the way Elise hits this, it looks like it's going over the stand, and then it just bends and bounces off the post for Zaha to hit him. But no Everton defender moves. Not a single one moves.
I don't know if you guys had the same bowls over in England, but Uncle Sharma, he lived in Italy, might remember these bowls. The cheapest bowl you can get at the beach, pointless to use at the beach because the wind will just take it wherever you want.
I know exactly what you mean. We call them flyaways.
Yeah, Super Tele. It just felt, I looked at the highlight from that game. It just looks like a Super Tele, like, whoops, turns around.
So I get that nobody saw that coming, but Zaha is following that into the box as a striker should in case there's a rebound, and all the defenders just stand there and go, oh, it's going out. None of them move. And then the last goal, there's a point where there's 5 Everton defenders. You could throw a blanket over them, I swear. And there's one defender on the left of the box with Conor Gallagher just stood there. He gets the ball. He's got a full minute to hit the ball. Pickford makes an incredible save, but no Everton defenders moved. And Will Hughes is like, okay, sick. Knocks it into the goal. And they're all too busy applying, screaming for offside. I think absolute shambles at Everton. I think Lampard, his comments, not only laughable with the fluke goal, average goal, etc. His comments after the game were really a bit mad. He said he blamed it on scheduling. So, Arteta has had to go at scheduling, but we won the game. He complained about scheduling, said that it should have been a later kickoff. He said Allen's suspension really didn't help them. Allen was probably a red card midweek. I don't think he's got much complaint there. He said, issues were here before I got here. He asked his players, have you got the bollocks to play? And then he said, when asked about why they lost, he said, it wasn't tactics. The coach said it wasn't tactics.
It wasn't my fault, basically.
Yeah, the first 20 minutes, Palace couldn't get out of their half, so the tactics definitely worked. No, Frank. The tactics were working. Then Patrick changed something, and they no longer worked. And the second you conceded a goal, you were unable to respond. I think he did a okay job at Derby, but should have done better considering how good his squad was for the Championship. He had Mason Mount. He had some great players on loan from Chelsea. They should have got promoted. They didn't. At Chelsea, he had a squad that got top 4, but that same squad then won the Champions League the second Tuchel came over, right? I just think he's going to get jobs for the next 5 years off his reputation. I don't think he's a very good manager. If I was an Everton fan, I would be seriously worried. The fact that they are in a relegation battle and he chose to sign Dele Alli and Van der Beek, the two very talented players, but neither of them are going to get you out of a relegation battle. And defense is where you need the additions. It remains a shit show at Everton. And I think this defeat, I said it on the last pod, it could either be like a catalyst after that 1-0 win against Newcastle, or it's going to destroy momentum. And it's going to destroy momentum. And now his comments calling out the players, any confidence that came from that 1-0 win against Newcastle, that's gone. That's absolutely gone. It's just terrible management.
We've got a few comments in the comment section. One is from a new friend of the pod, Samuel Scott. And guys, we smart people listen to us. This guy is doing research at Stanford University as he's currently listening to us. Dude, if you publish the paper, please give us a shout out. Be like, this is all thanks to Tomas and Rory from the Anglo-Italian pod. He says the best is what Frank said after listing all the flukes, that he accepts responsibility. Great punchline.
It doesn't sound like it, mate.
Hopeless Wanderer says that performance by Everton represents a team of players who didn't have a clue what to do and are the consequence of the 14 plus managers they've had under 6-7 seasons, including a certain Carlo Ancelotti, who was also in the mix. And then AFC Finners says, I just don't see Lampard as a manager, to be honest. He seems like he should be a Jamie Redknapp pundit. Seems to be a manager who smiles too much. He smiles?
Well, he does that mad thing where he's like, haha, yeah, and then goes dead serious. You've seen the memes, right? Where he's like, yeah, let's go again, but seriously, yeah. And he's a bit...
Where is Lampard from? Is he from North London? No, he's from North London.
He's from East London, right?
Yeah,
I think he's from East London. I have no idea, but he could be out of a job fairly soon. I don't know if he'll make it to May because Everton are really in trouble. But elsewhere, let's go across Liverpool to Liverpool. They were playing in Nottingham. Unbelievable atmosphere at the City Ground. Unbelievable atmosphere. A team that I didn't kind of realize, or I forgot that they had such a rivalry with Liverpool in the 70s and 80s. Obviously, Nottingham Forest under Clough with the European Cup, winning the leagues. There was a bit of a rivalry there. It was a close game. Forest definitely had their chances. Now, I need to get this name right. Zinkernagel? I think that's his name. Missed a bit of a sitter. Probably should have done better there. But overall, in the end, it was a tight game. Jota got the goal. It could be offside. It was very, very close. Very close. But they got the 1-0 win in the end. They will be facing in the semi-final Manchester City. It's going to be a hell of a semi-final, that. My God. They're going to play 3 times. Is it 3 times? I think it's like 3 times in the space of 2 weeks, or 2 times in the space of 3 weeks. I'm
going to double check right now. These games, the first leg is on April 16th. The first leg of the FA Cup semi-finals.
They do Benfica City. I think.
Yeah. It's going to be exactly like that. So from April 15th to April 16th, it's going to be Benfica away, City away, Benfica at home, and City at Wembley.
At Wembley, yeah, it's huge, absolutely huge. For City, my God, it was actually quite a close game. First half, 2 goals. Awful defending for both goals. The own goal from, his name escapes me now, Laporte, is particularly terrible, but the Southampton defending was awful for the first goal as well. And then City tend to do this. It's quite close. And then it's like, you know how I talked about Liverpool against Inter and Arsenal? It was just like quick combo, 1-2, and all of a sudden you're out. City did that, and I kind of blinked, and it was 4-1. And I was like, oh, shit, what happened? The Foden goal was an absolute beauty. Mahrez's goal was great. Comfortable in the end. Looking forward to the semi-final. Really looking forward to the semi-final. I still am backing Palace to get to the final. I'm putting my neck on the line. I'm saying Palace are going to get there.
Palace advance against the Chelsea.
Yeah, fuck it. Why not?
Sudden death, semi-finals at Wembley, because this is a well-organized tournament. Coppa Italia organizers. Oh, let's just have 2 legs in the semi-finals and play them 3 months apart. Ooh, that sounds like a great idea. Let's go through with it. Oh, you're such a genius. What are you doing?
So AFC Finners has replied, Lampard is from Romford, so he must know Ray Parlour. Finners, there's a reason why Ray Parlour's called the Romford Pele. He was definitely the better player. We can all accept that. Gotta love a bit of Ray Parlour. I think it's time to go to Serie A, Tommy.
I'm so excited to go to Serie A. You have no fucking idea. Let's go to Serie A. And we're going to start from a team that genuinely made me smile. I'm very happy for a team that I genuinely dislike, and I hope that they get relegated. But it was beautiful to see Genoa get their 2nd win of the season, and their manager going underneath the curva and doing the same celebration as Klopp. That was unbelievable. I just loved it. They win 1-0 against Torino. But wait, Tommy, is it the same Torino team that was a step away from defeating your team, Inter Milan? Yes, it's the same one, just a week later. That is the levels that we are at currently. Damn it. But Genoa win their tie against the Torino thanks to a goal by Portanova at the 14th minute. And despite playing the vast majority of the game with 10 men, they were able to keep the score and get these 3 points that mean the world to them. Salernitana, on the other hand, were not able to win or even get a point against Juventus, as Vlahovic and Dybala scored in the first half to secure the result for Juventus. Beautiful to see Dybala score again for Juventus, but the news has come.
Could it be the last time?
Could it be? Well, he's going to finish the season. He's going to finish the season. But yeah, he's not going to renew his contract after 7 years. And here I ask the question to my friends, Samuel Scott and Uncle Sharma. Would you go for him at Inter or not? The guy, in my opinion, is a little too injury prone, and it's not exactly the type of player that we need at the moment. But we'll be waiting to know what you guys say. Also, Venezia lost 2-0 against the Sampdoria, and their goalkeeper, I want to say he's Finnish, Maempa, of course is with that name. He could only be. He really gave the result away. I don't know if he had bet some money on the game.
That first goal was terrible. He just palmed it out to the striker, right? It was awful.
Yeah. It was awful. So the last 3 teams in Serie A at the moment are the ones that I've just talked about. The Salernitana on last place with 2 games in hand at 16 points. Genoa with no games in hand at 22 points. And Venezia with 1 game in hand at 22. Right above them, Cagliari and Spezia. Cagliari, who lost to AC Milan, and the Spezia, who lost 4-1 to Sassuolo. Let's talk about AC Milan. This happened on Saturday. AC Milan get their 3rd consecutive 1-0 win in the league, and they're building their Scudetto puzzle, jigsaw puzzle, piece after piece. These wins are crucial at the moment. They were lucky at the end with, I want to say, Pavoletti hitting the crossbar at the 89th to 90th minute, but still can't say anything about it. It's their 3rd consecutive win, always 1-0. They're looking cynical, and that Bennacer goal was simply pretty to watch.
In my fantasy this week, I did enjoy that goal a little bit extra just because of him. But I wanted to talk about with Milan, the turnaround that they've had under Maldini since he's been the sporting director.
Go for it.
It is insane. So when he took over in 18-19, their wage bill was 142.6 million, and they finished in 5th place, right? In June 2019, Maldini became technical director. their wage bill is now 81.9 million. So he reduced the wage bill by 43%, and they're top of the they're top of the Serie A. Like, the job he has done is incredible, and the turnaround has been pretty fast.
Yeah, good for them.
I just want to rub it in a little bit, Tommy. Just a little
Damn
bit.
it. I know he's been doing an incredible job. And the things are just going AC Milan's way at the moment. They just win these games 1-0. I will repeat it once again, and they seem to really be fighting for something. Also, unfortunately, something that we needed to address very quickly, not because it's not important, but because it's something that we covered over and over again, and we've got real football to talk about. Fuck Cagliari fans, honestly.
Yeah, this is why I hate Cagliari. This is why I fucking hate Cagliari.
Yeah, fuck Cagliari fans for real. On the day that the entire Serie A is wearing a badge that says no to racism, they just go monkey chants for 90 minutes against Mike Magnan, who then reacts in the best way possible by plugging his ears and posting a monkey with a cigarette doing a flip of the bird.
With NWA above it.
With NWA above it. That was quite dope. Good job, Mike. You are bigger than them. And
they'll be in Serie B next year. With any luck, they'll be in Serie B next year, and we don't have to think about them for a bit.
Well, talk about the black players who play in Serie B. Talk to them about the Cagliari fans. So this was AC Milan's game. Always on Saturday, Napoli, with a second back-to-back Osimhen brace, are able to overturn the score against Udinese. Deulofeo on the scoreline again. Rory, what a great moment in the year to sell him in fantasy football, right?
I can't handle it. I can't. And Correa hasn't played a single minute, I'm pretty sure. It's just, what was I doing? What was I thinking?
Deulofeo, I think, a very good season, but who is having even a better season is Osimhen. 2 great goals to give Napoli another win. He's on his 11th goal in 20 games, which is pretty impressive if we consider the big stop that he had after suffering that injury against the Milan Skriniar in Milan. Mm-hmm. And the other team competing for the title, on a day in which everybody wins, they just decide to fucking draw. Now, Uncle Sharma, come on. Warm up your fingers, type on the keyboard. You were telling me that I should be a bit optimistic. I wasn't feeling it when you told me. And I have mad respect for you, man. I was just like, I just see a lot of Inter fans being like, dude, you should be optimistic. There was a moment in the season where we went 7 points below and then we went up. Well, guess what? Time is fucking running out. And we've just been shitting the bed over and over again. Against the Fiorentina, I knew it would be hard. And we didn't even play a terrible game. We were in the game. We were there. We could have scored more, but we didn't. And in the end, what matters is the result.
It really was like, I posted halfway through the first half. You know that picture of all the football fans when they're all pointing arrows at the goal, and it's like their team hadn't scored in like 60 games. I just posted that. I was like, live scenes of the San Siro. Like, Inter had so many chances, just didn't put any of them away. That Torreira goal, I don't know why no one was tracking his run, but he was left completely open to go through. There was also a shot of Handanovic on the line and then 2 Inter defenders either side because they just don't trust him to save anything. They're like, rather than marking men, they just stood on the line like, right, we'll get in the way or something. Like, it was a bit chaotic. But I think as always, you're creating the chances. You're just not putting them away. And this is, as you're right, time's running out. This is the business end of the season. All the other cliches. You need to stop putting these balls in the net. And Dzeko just seems to have dried up. Martinez looked fuming when he was taken off, understandably. I saw someone on Twitter, I forgot who it was. They said, why is it that when Inter take off Martinez, it feels like they suddenly have to fix a really complex maths algorithm to score a goal? Like, everything just becomes much more complicated. I'm going to find out who that was, but it seems like it really did slow down once he was taken off.
Yeah, and I don't really... Well, Brozovic is one of the key reasons why you have been underperforming, but at the same time, he hasn't been playing the most recent games, but at the same time, you cannot rely on one single player to make your attacking maneuver work all the time. Brozovic is an incredible player. We're going to answer to a question at the end of the pod from one of our listeners who asked us what would be our wish list for the summer transfer market for Inter and Arsenal. I think that it's of paramount importance to Inter Milan to sign a sort of Vice Brozovic, somebody who can play like Brozovic when Brozovic is not available or just needs to rest because he is always running to both ends of the pitch. I'm just a little disappointed. I think the Scudetto at this point is gone. I know that I should not think about it. We still have that game in hand. If we do win the game in hand, we will be only, can we say only 3 points behind AC Milan? There are still 8 games to play.
That's one game swing. That's one game swing.
Yeah, and I have to say one thing. The only thing that comforts me is that every single team up top has slipped in unexpected moments this season. It's been a roller coaster of a season for Inter, Milan, and Napoli and Juventus, who are slowly getting there. What really worries me is that we need to just turn things around now. And the first opportunity to do so will be after the international break at the Juventus Stadium in Turin. And if Juventus win that game, they are going to overtake us in the standings. Now, Vlahovic just came back from the international training camp because he suffered a groin injury. They brought him back since Serbia already qualified. They brought him back immediately to Turin. He's going to undergo therapy, and I'm sure he's going to be fit by the time they play Inter Milan. Look, if we win that game, I'm not going to write it off that the Scudetto is gone. But if we don't get 3 points in that game against Juventus, it's very hard to imagine that we can do something. I'm going to read what Benjamin Bolival says.
I'm just going to very quickly shout out the account was at Art Morelli. He's a really funny Napoli account. Definitely worth a follow. It was him. I wanted to give him the credit.
Benjamin Bolival saying, we were fooled by the form of Inter late 2010-1, and now we got found out in 2022. I'm now a realist, and I'm just hoping we win against Juve and win the Coppa Italia to soften the pain. Beautifully worded, Benjamin. I think that Inzaghi's limits really came to life in the second half of the season, which aren't even his limits. It's also the squad's limits. We've got a very, very depleted squad. It's very short, and we need more players. We're going to get there later on. But yes, it's only a one-word draw for Inter Milan against Fiorentina at home. Quickly, the other games that we had this weekend were Sampdoria Venezia, I've already mentioned it. Empoli drawing 1-1 to Hellas Verona. Beautiful goal. Yeah, we're getting there, Rory. Don't worry. Beautiful goal by Cancellieri. Were you starting him in fantasy, Rory?
Nope.
He's not your player, right?
I don't have him, no.
Beautiful goal by Cancellieri for Verona, his first Serie A goal, and it was a beauty. The thing that you need to watch about this game is Simeone missing the penalty, saved by the goalkeeper. The referee says that the penalty kick needs to be taken again, which is something that I can't stand. Because if you look at the feet of the players outside the box, it should always be retaken. So he retakes the penalty and then misses it again. So that was the highlight of this game. Juventus Salernitana 2-0. And then we've got two incredible stories, but we're going to start from Roma's jersey that Rory is rocking right now. We called it, ladies and gentlemen, on the Anglo-Italian pod. Wouldn't it be beautiful if Englishman Tammy Abraham scored at least one goal in the Roma derby to have it enshrined forever in the history of the Giallorossi? Guess what? He scored 2 and 1 within 1 minute of play to top everything off. The the free kick of a lifetime by Lorenzo Pellegrini. Rory, what did you make of this game?
That first, Tammy 2 goals does it again. What a performance from Roma. Literally from the first second, they just ran at Lazio, and Lazio shat themselves. The players that really stood out for me, obviously Abraham. Zalevski was unbelievable. He's a player I've not really watched much, but I think he was up against, is it Marusic at right back? And he just absolutely...
He was against Felipe Anderson for the majority of the game.
Well, whoever it was, he tore them to absolute pieces, and the midfield was not tracking him at all. He had free reign of that wing. As you said, within 1 minute, a corner from Pellegrini. It basically bounces off the crossbar, nearly catches the keeper out, but Abraham manages to tap it in. 1 minute, 1-0. The second goal was a beautiful cross across the box. Abraham, again, a bit of a kind of scissor kick type thing, really acrobatic finish. And then, as you said, the free kick from Pellegrini, absolutely beautiful. Roma just blew them away in that first half. And after Mourinho being so loud midweek about, we're playing in Europe and they're all at home smoking with Sarri, for him to absolutely destroy them. And then I don't know if you've seen his Instagram, Tommy, but the 2 selfies he put up.
Yes, it's a smiling selfie in the team bus and one in the locker room. It's like the pre-match selfie and the post-match selfie look quite similar when you're sure you're going to win the game.
Dude. Like the thought that he's taking that picture, gone, just in case I'm going to take this picture.
Guys, if you want to hear a bit about Roma, we have a great interview lined up for this Thursday. We cannot tell you who it is, but it's personality and it's a great Roma supporter, and we're so excited to have him on this week after they qualified to the next round of the Conference League and won the derby 3-0. Our friend Rudy R23 from the Twitch stream is saying Chelsea doing great business with that Abraham Lukaku swap. Yes, arguably. And about Zalewski, Rory, I just wanted to read a quote from Mourinho. Nicola is a young player who has been at Rome since he was 9 years old. He had some problems in the game against Udinese, and the Roman press absolutely battered him. See, if I was a shit manager who listens to the press, I wouldn't have played him anymore. But since I'm not here, you can enjoy him now.
It's brilliant. It's absolutely brilliant. And the moment of the game was definitely as that free kick from Pellegrini spins in, the camera goes to Totti in the crowd, and he just has this really proud little smile, like a little grin where he's like, just this approving little smile of like, yes, because he said that Pellegrini was a fitting captain for Rome and he kind of anointed him, and now he's put the 3rd goal in against their bitter rivals. For Lazio, I don't know how you recover from this. It was an embarrassment. The second half, they had a few more chances, but I mean, most of them were just Pedro spamming it over the crossbar, just trying to hit one top corner. Roma kept them at arm's length. I think it puts them quite close to Lazio in the table now. I think if they'd have lost this, it would have been about a 7-point gap, maybe. I can't remember.
Roma are over Lazio by 2 points right now. They're in Conference League territory on even points with Atalanta, who, however, have got 1 game in hand. And here, Roma are one of the teams that Inter have left to play. Another beautiful story is the one that comes from the Bologna-Atalanta game. Now, this game was decided at the 82nd minute by a young'un whose name you probably had never heard before yesterday. His name is Mustafa Cissé. Now, I shared the story with you this morning, Rory. It's so pretty funny to see that even on FotMob, like my football application that I have on my phone, yesterday they didn't have much information about this player at all. And now they do. So I'm going to retrieve my text that I sent to Rory this morning because this is a truly beautiful story. So the guy who won the 3 points from Atalanta, he lost his father. He came to Italy from Conakry, the capital of Guinea, when he was 16 years old, and he took part in a football tournament with Rinascita refugees, a lineup from Lecce that plays in the Seconda Categoria Championship. The Atalanta scouts noticed him then, and they brought him to Bergamo, and Gasperini, after a few games where he saw him play, was just like, all right, let's bring him to the senior team. Right now, Atalanta are absolutely depleted. They don't have anyone up front except for Muriel. When Muriel couldn't deliver, they took him out. Cissé came in, and he scored a beautiful goal too. Like, it's not by luck that he's wide open right there. The defenders could have tracked him, but it's also sense of positioning. And it was beautiful to see. And this is a thing that I think happens a lot at Atalanta, just discovering these young talents. And I just love the energy of the other young players that kind of came through out of nothing, just like ready to leave the center stage to him. He was lifted by his teammates towards the Atalanta curva at the end of the game, and it was just beautiful to see.
It's an incredible story. It kind of gave me goosebumps, like the idea that this guy was just, wow, like all the things that have to happen for you to get that opportunity and then for you to take the opportunity. It's insane. And I love these stories in football. I absolutely love it.
I have to answer a question by AFC Finners. Tommy, does Juve or AC Milan winning Serie A anger you more? Well, Juventus is kind of like, it's become a habit and it's something
You're
that I
like numb
accept.
to it now, I think.
Right? It's
Right?
kind of numb. Also, Juventus fans are very silent. Like, nobody's a Juventus fan around. Like, nobody's an outspoken Juventus fan in Milan. And if I don't know, they're not very loud. They're also used to it. If it was AC Milan, they would tie us in number of Scudetti. So it would be 19 to 19. And then it's going to be the race for the second star. And so it's annoying. If AC Milan win, we were talking about it with Rory. So there are three options. Well, either the three teams are playing to the last game and we'll be in Milan watching what happens on their last match day. Or Inter are already out. At that point, if it's only between the Napoli and AC Milan, Rory and I are getting a plane to go to Napoli. In case the unthinkable happens, we need to be there, and possibly it will be our last pod alive.
Yeah, I don't know. I might wear a stab-proof vest. I might go get one.
can take our legacy and just continue. If the third case scenario, it's only AC Milan ready to win it, I'm gonna fuck off Milan for that weekend. I cannot stand like the open top bus around the streets of Milan. No. Can't happen, my friend. AFC. And the Mondo Sportivo was saying very true, all to lose for AC Milan. They're masters of their own destiny at this moment in time. Rory,
Tommy, before we go, we've got a really nice, relaxing couple of weeks coming up now, football-wise, right? Oh no, wait, no, sorry. That's I can sit back and relax. How do you feel about the next couple of weeks coming up?
It's a stressful week, just as the weather gets prettier and prettier. On Thursday night, there are, of course, the fixtures for the World Cup qualification, and Italy are going to take on Macedonia. I'm a little worried. I'm not going to lie. Like, a lot of people are just like, no, man, we're not going to go through. Like, Portugal are going to go through. I'm just like, oh, you're giving it for granted that we're going to win against Macedonia.
There's been a lot of talk of like, when we play Portugal, we need to, like, guys. This team beat Germany. Like, they are not a bad team.
Yeah, no.
They're not a bad team.
I 100% agree. So we will see on Thursday night. I'm going to be with a few friends that I haven't seen in a while. We're going to be watching the game together. And on Friday, it's exactly for this reason that Friday's episode is going to be released at night. I want to say around 8 p.m. at night. That's when the episode is going to be released, because we are going to watch the game on Thursday night and then we're going to record on Friday afternoon. Hopefully, it will be a happy me. I was trying to look for the other international games that are going to be played. Just let me take a quick look. Rory, in the meantime, we actually... Have I found it? Have I not found it? Yes, I may have found it. Just 1 second. Yes, sorry, guys. Okay,
we're filling. There we go.
The games are Italy, North Macedonia, Portugal, Turkey, Scotland, Ukraine, which of course was cancelled, Sweden, Czech Republic, and Wales, Austria. These are the games, all at 8:45 Central European Time, PM, of course, on Thursday, March 24th. Rory, before we send off our listeners, we had this question on our Instagram, who are the players that you would sign for Arsenal come the summer?
I've gone for 4. I think we're going to spend a lot of money, and I think we need improvement in the right back position. We need cover for Tomiyasu, because he seems to be injured quite a lot. So to cover Tomiyasu, I'm going to go for Tariq Lamptey. He's another favourite of the pod. Absolutely love him. The dynamic pace, attacking ability, defensively, he could do with improving a little bit, but I think Arteta is able to coach him. So I'm saying Tariq Lamptey, Frankie de Jong in midfield. I think he is the perfect Xhaka replacement. I think he has in the past talked about wanting to play for Arsenal. The fact that Barcelona are now improving is slightly annoying. I think our chances of getting him were better about 3 weeks ago than they are now. But he would definitely be worth getting. And I think up front, despite the comment that's on the screen, Darwin Núñez, as I wrote a love letter to him last pod. I want him at Arsenal. Martinez. Now, in the summer, when I said Arsenal are going to get Martinez, you were like, no, he's too good for Arsenal. You can't afford him. And now you're begging for us to take him.
I'm not.
having
Oh,
it.
this is wait. This is the Stanford researcher, lovely guy. But he just said, "Please get Lautaro at Arsenal. Pay us 70 million." I did not say that. I would hold on to Lautaro.
I think Darwin Nunez might be cheaper, so I'm going to go for Darwin Nunez. So Nunez, Frankie De Jong, and on the outside chance, a little wild card because he might be wanting to leave Man City. Bring me Raheem Sterling. Bring me Raheem the Dream, please. I want him. I want him. I want him coached by Arteta again. I want him, not
Raheem
Pepe.
the Dream.
Get Raheem in there. He can miss so many chances for us. I can't wait. I genuinely would take him at Arsenal in a heartbeat. And I think we'd be able to get him for like 40, 50 million, which won't be too bad.
We are well over 1 hour, but I'm going to go quickly. So at Inter Milan, I'm dying to have Uncle Sharma on because I kind of want to understand the situation better at our club. I know he's much more knowledgeable about certain things than I am, but it's kind of complicated. It really depends on how much money we can spend, on what offers come our way. But I definitely think that we need somebody to be able to play in Brozovic's same position. And that, as Ruairi shouted when we were off mic before the pod, might as well be a certain Mateo Kovacic. Why not? Coming back to Inter Milan after touring the world and winning Champions Leagues everywhere but in the city of Milan, could be nice to have some experience with Matteo in midfield. And then two players one player that I'm sure about is Bremer, the Torino defender. Yeah. We definitely need him. A big offer for the Vrij was to come, I would consider it. And then Frattesi, apparently from Sassuolo, is another midfielder that we have pre-signed or almost signed. But I think that is fundamental to get a forward together with another goalkeeper. Onana might be the deal. I think that's already done. Scamacca would be my top shout. I would love to see him in an Inter shirt up front.
Man, he's now added free kicks to his repertoire. This guy is he's going places, that guy.
He is going places. But that's it. Ladies and gentlemen, we've come to the end of the podcast. Sorry if it was kind of all over the place at the end. This week, of course, we don't have any national competitions. It's all going to be friendlies and World Cup qualifiers. Cross your fingers. We are going to talk to you again on Friday night. In the meantime, follow us on Instagram at Anglo-Italian Pod, on Twitter at Italian Anglo Pod, and give a follow to our sponsor at the Sports Club Maps. The chat is going crazy.
It is. I've enjoyed it tonight.
Me too. Good night, Benjamin. Good night, Le Monde Sportif. Good night, Hopeless Wanderer, Chris, AFC Finners.
Just because AFC Finners going, imagine if United signed De Vrij, they'd have the fridge and the fridge. I like that. That's good.
The fridge and the bridge at center back. Good night, everybody. Also to my mom who is following the stream. Lovely to talk to all of you at the same time.
I hope she didn't hear that joke at the beginning of the show. Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.